Hello, I'm here with my friend Michael Benanav, author of Men of Salt. And Michael, if you'll show the book to the camera. And welcome to Spicy Reads, www.spicyreads.org. And I'm going to be sharing this video with teens from my reading group. And I would like you to tell them, Michael, why teens who may never have a chance to go to Africa should read your book or care about this part of the world.
Well, the first reason is that it's a fascinating place. There are people over there that live in a way that's completely different than the way that we live. And they work with animals over there that we don't have. And the relationship between the people and each other, the people and the animals, and the people and the land is something that we're really not familiar with here. And just because we're not familiar with it doesn't mean that we shouldn't pay attention to it. It actually makes it more interesting because you'll be finding out about something that is really totally new and fresh. And while that's going on, there's also this great adventure story going on as these men and myself cross 1,000 miles of the Sahara Desert with camels.
Now, Michael, I'm assuming then that your advice for teens is really not much different than your advice for anyone, that whether you're a teen or whether you're an adult, that this is an area that we should all be interested in.
Sure it is. I mean, partly because I think as people read about it, they'll find it intrinsically interesting, but also because there are so many different possibilities to what it means to be a human being. And in our country and our culture, we really only explore a certain number of those possibilities. You know, we're only sitting on part of the spectrum of what it means to be human. And the people over in this part of Africa, they're living on another part of the spectrum. But they're also just as human as we are. So by reading about them, we find out a little bit more about what it really means to be a human being than we learn from our culture alone.
What are some of the things that you've learned from this trip about being a human that perhaps surprised you from your impression of what you thought the trip would be like before you left to after having been back now for a couple of years?
Well, one of the things that impressed me greatly, there was actually a lot that I think that we as Americans can learn from the people from the people over there. And one of the most important things I think is their relationship to the environment. They live in the desert where resources are very sparse. And if they overuse those resources, they know that that means they're going to die because they've used up everything that they have. And in today's global environmental situation, we're in a situation that's not really all that different from theirs, even though we have a little bit more of a margin of comfort. But I think we really need to pay attention to cultures that know how to manage their resources well and live in harmony with nature in a way that enables the culture to survive rather than self-destruct.
Now, Michael, traveling to Timbuktu and to Mali is not the typical career goals for most. In fact, I'm sure that you've met people that think you are crazy for taking such a brutal physical journey. What things in your childhood or in your upbringing have led you to this kind of career path?
Well, for me, part of it was the books that I read when I was young. I read a lot of adventure books, both fiction, you know, things like Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or biographies of people like Lawrence of Arabia, that really activated my mind and got me thinking about how cool it would be to go on adventures. But basically, for me, what it really comes down to is that this life, there's not much more you can do with it than really follow your dreams. And for me, this happens to be what my particular dream is. But I think the bigger lesson is for anybody, whatever your particular dream is, chase it, because otherwise, you know, what are you spending your time on the planet doing?
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you for visiting with spicyreads.org. And show your book one last time.
Here you go.
Men of Salt. Great book. Highly recommended.